So maybe it's a bit difficult to look at the responses, but nevertheless, let's start this demo with, okay, so welcome to this Python demo. This is in association with Magister Sign Online, and my name is Sharik Ahmed Khan. I'll be your instructor and mentor throughout this course from beginning of this demo to the whole course, which comprises of all the modules that we have been sent over. I've been into this training and mentoring from almost like 3 years, and it's just the specific training and mentoring. But over the 6 years, I've been promoting workshops and training in my colleges and different colleges also. I've published my own research while I was doing my master's in electronics from Lithuania, Europe. The research was into helping medical industry to determine the body water content without the need of heavy equipment. And that thesis was widely accepted on public defense, and it will be available after 4 years from now on. And that will be really helpful in upcoming research to come. For this demo content, I have kept few things which is very specific, which not really is covered in most of the demos, but I really wanted to keep this very specific where you guys learn something. Maybe you guys are some of the guys will be having some basic knowledge about Python. They will have some basic knowledge about API. They will have some basic knowledge about data structures. So I wanted to club everything in one and give as a demonstration during this demo. This demo will also comprises of some practical hands-on. So I request everyone to, if you have your laptop, it will be good and interactive demo. But if you don't have, you will still have a recording of this so you can try at home. But before starting, I want you guys, since we have not, I have not mentioned about downloading some kind of IDE. So I want you guys to go online on this link called https://notebooks.azure.com. This is a cloud hosted Jupyter notebook. And I'm going to talk about a little about Jupyter notebook is that Jupyter notebook is just like your execution environment, which means there are IDEs, which is integrated development environment, where we write code in order to execute. We have interpreter for Python that interprets the Python programming language and converts into in some kind of an output. But then this Jupyter notebook is basically, we call that as execution environment, rather a development environment. The reason is the difference between development environment and your execution environment is that your development environment comes with some other stuff like GitHub integration, DevOps, possibility of Docker, everything. So in that code itself, you can maybe in one tab on one Python file, you're writing web development code, and another you're writing Python for machine learning. You can create your virtual environments and do a lot of stuff. And that is basically production ready. Now, you can use Jupyter Notebook all throughout this course, and that will be very interactive, especially when you want to have an execution line by line, and you will see how it can be useful. So I'm going to take some 2 to 3 seconds of pause, or let's say like 10 seconds of pause. And I want you guys to go to this URL. If you have laptop with you, please go to this URL and sign up in this by using a Gmail or Microsoft account, and just sign up in there. And once you're done, please, or I'm going to automatically start after 30 seconds. So please visit this website, this link, and please make up your sign up this notebook. If you have done earlier, sign up, or you have done quickly, just let me know by unmuting yourself and saying that you have done already, so we can proceed with our demonstration. So I suppose everyone would have done this sign up part. So shall we proceed? You have this link on the screen. If you have any issue with it, please let me know. I'm always here to help you guys. So please click on this link or just visit this URL on your web browser and try to sign up. If you fail, if you wish, if you are not able to sign up, you face some issue, do let me know. Feel free to talk. And let's keep this session more interactive. So we have, every one of us has something to learn from this demonstration. So when we go back, we have something to ponder upon, and then we have something better response. So for those people who have recently joined in, we have a demonstration of this Python where we'll be talking about fundamentals of Python. We'll touch some topics into formatting of data and data structures. What's the difference between that? We'll have some practical example of data structures. We will try to interact with weather data using Python. I'll tell about an application of linked list where you can use this in your Python web weather API, and then we'll have a doubt session also. So to make this content, to make this demonstration more interactive, I want you guys who have recently joined to visit this URL and try to sign up and create your ID there. So whenever I'm trying to teach you or show you some basic Python code, you are doing it by me, with me also. So for those who have recently joined, please go to this URL and try to sign up so we can have this demo as interactive as possible.
There are a lot
So
of displayed. Which one to select actually?
I'm sorry.
There are a lot of options displayed. It is showing that access your data in Azure Notebook, and machine learning models, then Azure ML web service, and introduction to Python, introduction to R, that kind of thing. It's showing.
Okay. I'm gonna go type in here Azure Notebook,
Okay.
and it will take me to this Microsoft Azure Notebook. I'm gonna click
Okay.
OK here, and then I have here sign up option.
Right now.
Yeah. So since I already have an account, I'm just gonna go inside and sign in.
Okay, but when you are clicking on try now, I'm seeing a lot of options.
So this is like basic, the basic projects which Azure has already given. I want you to go back and click here if you have any option called sign up,
Oh,
or sign in, something like that.
okay.
Just go here, click on sign in and create an account if you don't have. So before starting this hands-on guide, let me just take you some brief introduction about Python programming. Python programming is general purpose programming language. Now it's not necessary to understand how that Python name was established and who was the inventor. Although it's good to know Ron. So, but then the essence of Python is about it's a general purpose programming language. The official documentation is available at www.python.org. This Python has a special feature called pip, which is your package manager, package index manager. And what happens is, if, for example, whenever you download Python in your local system, let's say you visit this website called www.python.org and you download a Python IDLE, which is the default ID. And if you don't have any package that is already installed in it, so you use pip commands to install new packages, which is like speech recognition package, deep learning package, machine learning package, netmiko for network automation, web development, Django, and things like that. Now, Python has its own huge community. The reason was because it was made to be as simple as English. So that means the more you give the abstraction layer to humans, that means it's more readable inclination towards human, the more complex its implementation will be. But boiled down to the lowest level, Python is implemented on C language. And that's why whenever you try to check a performance of Python versus C or C++, Python will always lag. And the reason is you have your C code, and upon that you have abstraction layer of Python, which does nothing but calls your C program to perform any kind of functionality. Now you can always increase Python, optimize Python into C. There are extensions of Python called CPython. You have Jython, wherein you can convert your Python code into C equivalent language. This feature is similarly available in MATLAB development environment, where you can convert your MATLAB code into VLSI, C, and other programming languages. There are other programming languages, let's say Kotlin, which has possibility to convert into Java, JavaScript. But since Python is way better and more cleaner language, and it is being developed by a huge community, every developer knows nothing but at least Python, because it's good for rapid prototyping. Now, what do I mean by rapid prototyping? It's, for example, I have a solar panel to, let's say I have embedded systems, and in that I can use Python, which is called MicroPython, which is based on Python 2. Now, there is two versions of Python, Python 2 and Python 3. All you need to do is you need to forget about Python 2, and we need to focus on Python 3, because the support of Python 2 has been rested. It's no more developed after January 2020. Now, if I want to develop a code for embedded system, embedded device about solar panel, I have a huge program, like say 5 to 6 files. From one file, the Wi-Fi connection is coming. From another file, some calculation has been done, and things like that. So therein, I cannot write so much complex code, C++, because it's very complex. You need to have structure definition. I mean, it's good for constrained devices, but for rapid prototyping, Python is always the answer. Big companies like Tesla, they use Python for prototyping. Now you can robustly write quick code about in Python and make your functionality, be it like in Django web development, or let's say embedded systems, Linux, and everything you can write in Python. If you need to convert that into C, C++, you have some extensions called Cython, CPython, and Jython. You can convert that into native languages. Now let's move ahead to this demonstration. I'll be working on some basic examples of Python so that you have so you have working knowledge about this Python programming language. Now, some of you might be already having some experience with Python, but I would like to have deep down, or I would like to start from the basic. So even if you know something, it's a good thing that you're starting and refreshing everything. So I will start with, I hope everyone has already signed up in this Azure notebook. Can I have some yes, please, if you have done?
Actually, we signed in, and like again, same thing. It's showing so many options. Which one to select? Actually, it says access your data in Azure Notebooks, Azure Cosmos, the machine learning. All that list is coming again and again.
So you can click on this see all option. Do you have anything called see or see all?
No, it says see. I'm under Microsoft and I'm in projects, and on the projects it is showing all these access your data in Azure Notebook, Cosmos DB, then Python, introduction to Python, all that stuff.
So
Anyways, you please continue because I don't want to take the time. I sort it out later.
okay, so you can, if you have anything called see all option, or if you don't have it, you can basically, you might be having some option called new project. Maybe you can go into one of the folders inside, and then you will have an option called new project inside
Oh, yeah,
that.
sure.
Yeah. So you have possibilities. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about this Python Azure notebook. You have possibility of creating a new project. You can create by typing the project name. If you know GitHub, you can already upload your GitHub repository where you have written all your code, and you can run right here. So this Azure notebook will help you write the code on online. So let me just start with creating a new project. I'm going to name it as demo Python. And now if you want to publicly display this as your repository, and if you want to just make your employer happy, let's say you have done some projects, some real life environment, you can just click on public, so it will be easily accessible to anyone. And I don't want to initialize with the readmd, so I don't want to really write something about this. I'm just going to click on create. Now it will create me a demo Python file here, and you have this working here. Now I'm gonna click on this. You have several options here. You have terminal. You can install some packages if you want. You can create a notebook folder, and you can create a blank file, just like text file. You have markdown. We can explain that later on. You can upload anything from your computer, either from URL also or from computer. I'm just gonna go on to click on notebooks and type in here the name. Let's say first Python thing. And then I'm going to click on Python 3.6. That's the latest version, although the latest version is 3.8, but since it's not been updated here, so we're going to use 3.6. And I will go and create new. You have this notebook already here. Just click on this notebook and it will open into another terminal, another page. Now here we will start with the very basic quickly, 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not going to take much of time, but it will help you understand. It's not necessary to understand each line of code right away, but I'm sure you will be able to understand most of it right away without even writing one line of code. Now, if I want to start with Python, I always ask one basic question. If I ask you, I hope everyone has a little bit of mathematics background, because mathematics is the root of India. So if I ask you, if I ask you, how about, how can you assign a value 3 to a variable A in mathematics? How would you say? Anyone can voluntarily ask that, respond to that.
You have a variable, you give a variable name and then equal to and then the value.
Yeah, so for example, the variable name is A equals to 3, for example, and this is how we write in Python. And to run this, all I'm going to click is here run command, or to quickly run that, you can just click on this cell, shift and enter, and it will run this command. And if you want to know what's the value that is stored in A, you can just type in A and then check, it's 3. So this is the beauty of this Jupyter notebook hosted on Azure, that you can have output right away in the next line itself. Again, let's create another variable, which is B equals to 5. Okay, let's perform some, and let's check what is the value in B, 5. Let's perform some basic operation of mathematics into this to A and B. So for addition, I have something called A plus B. You have 8 as a response. For subtraction, you have A minus B, just like your basic mathematics, A minus B minus 2. For multiplication, you have A multiply B. And for division, you have A single division, B will give you exact division value of this, which is your 0.6. If I wanted to have a round off value, I'm going to use something called A double forward slash B. And this will give me round off value to 0. So there's a difference between single forward slash and double forward slash. Now, in order to have something called power, so A power B, in you can also write POW A comma B, but let's keep more of operationals and we will use this operations. So we'll start with A, and if you want to have A to the power B, um, A B to the power A, so let's say, so you have double asterisks and followed by B. So that means what I can expect as an output is, since A is 3, B is 5, so you're going to have 3 multiplied by 5 times. 3, it's 27, and multiplied by 9 will be somewhere like 18, 180 something. So you have 243. So 3 multiply 5 times, you have 243 as a response. Again, B multiplied by 3, it will be your 125. Uh, since you have 5, oh, it's 3, so 1 second. Yeah, so you have 125 as a response. So that's your power. Now there's a difference between, you might have heard a rule called baud mass. Now I'm writing something here, that means it is being commented. To do that, we have something called hash in Python. So you have some basic rule of understanding, which is a baud mass. So whenever you have some operation, you will always have bracket operation to be solved first among these basic operations, plus, minus, division, and double division. And you have division, then multiplication, addition, and subtraction. But if you have double asterisks, so you will have priority over double asterisks than single asterisks. So for example, if I write something called A asterisk B, double asterisks A, so what output can I expect is 125 multiplied by 3, which will be your 375. Okay. If I write something like, let's say smaller number, so it's more predictive. So let's say A equals to 3 and B equals to 2. And if I want to perform something like A double asterisks B single asterisks A, so what I can expect is 3 to the power 2 and whole multiplied by 3. So this will be 9 multiplied by 2, 9 multiplied by 3, which will be 27. So that's the difference between double asterisks and single asterisks. I hope this wasn't too much for you guys. This is a very easy thing. So you can always know this Python programming, which is very close to your what we have learned so far, and there's nothing different than this. Now I'm going to run back to a basic quiz. So let's have a big basic quiz thing, and we will return and check out some more basic functions in the Python. Let's go back to our presentation. Okay. So your packages and framework. So I discussed about when you want to interact or when you want to download anything which is not available in the default library of Python, you use something called frameworks. Now these packages or library in a term of frameworks helps you develop a software application. That software application can be in web development, so by using Flask framework, Django framework, Tornado framework, embedded systems, like I spoke earlier, which is MicroPython. You have data science, NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, Matplotlib, and Seaborn, different packages that helps you cover data science aspect of stream. You have network automation, which means you can access through Python to different routers and then trace the route of the router from starting point to the end point. You have Internet of Things being controlled with Python. You have a whole library called paho.mpurity, paho.mpurity. That's an MQTT protocol implementation in Python. So you can interact with machine to machine by using Python programming language. Now, when we have come here, let's have some interactive basic quiz. Let's start. What do you think the output of the first will be? Now, don't get confused about what is print and you have multiple. You can understand that print is to just give an output. And since every operation is separated by comma, that means every output will be separated by comma. So let's start by first question. What will be the output of this? So can I have some responses? So you have some basic exercise about what you have learned. Do you want me to share the notebook that I have written my program, so you can have a look, and then we can maybe come back and have this interactive quiz. So does anyone wants to respond to this, or maybe just I'm just gonna go and walk through this, how this thing is. Okay, so I'm gonna walk through with this. So the first answer, since you have single forward slash, so it will be your -2 divided by 4, and should be somewhere like point, 0.5. And since minus 0.5 is less than 0, so the value returned will be minus 0.5 precisely. And then you have 2 divided by 4, again 0.5, 2 divided by double division by 4, it will be your 0, and -2 double division by 4, it will be your -1, because minus 0.5 and the round of that should be a lower value, so it will be -1. So you can see the output as this. Can someone wants to try? Someone try the next question. You have 25 multiplication by 3 division. You have 5 double asterisks, which is power 2 minus 20. So that means first operation should be done between 5 power 2, then the bracket thing, and then the division part. Can I have some response now? Okay, so we have this 5 to the power 2, and as I said, 5, this double asterisk is
12
basically to the power
15.
okay, 15.0, because we have single division. How about the next one? I'm sure this will be quite confusing. Let's see who can answer this first. So we have 5 to the power 2 minus 20. So the first operation will be between 25 multiplied 3 divided by
Is it 17?
25. It will be minus
15.
17.0. Why? Because we have the first operation between 25 multiplied by 3 divided by 25. So it will be 3 minus 17, 20. So it will be 17.0. Now you still have a chance. So how about this first response? Quickly. So it's a double division. So that means the precise value, not the decimal value.
25.
Great. Next. Quickly, let's finish up this thing quickly.
$28.
Yeah, that's easy. Good one.
0.
Yeah, 0.
4.
0.
Great. 4.
100.
100. Yes, exactly. And then
400.
so it will be it should be 10 to the power 2. It's 100.
100.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So now let's move forward about a little specific. Enough of our discussions. Okay, so I think 1 second. So let me just go back to this Python shell. So this is what we have done, and the exercise was in and around this basic operations. I hope everything is clear. So shall we move forward? Okay. So let's start with some more basic stuff. Now you know something like we have seen already something called print statement, which does nothing but print your thing.
Hello.
So let's say if you have A, it will print your output as the value. But if you want to print multiple values, all you can do is just followed by print A, comma B. So you can print multiple values together. Okay. Now you have seen here that we were assigning the value by ourselves. How about if I want to make a user to give an input? For example, this program should ask me by himself that enter a value. So to do that, we have something called input function. So there are something called inbuilt function. We will talk about the three different types of functions. So we will make use of input and try to get the value into A. Let's use A as a variable followed by input function, and every function in Python should be accompanied with brackets, which is your parenthesis. So followed by parenthesis. Now, if I just run this, it will be not very appealing to you, but it will still ask you for an input. Let's try this. When I run this and I put some value, let's say 3 here, and you can see it has already been there. But when I run this, you can see something called single quotes around this tree. Now this means this your input. Basically, there are few different types of data types in Python. One of the data type is what we have been doing as integer, which is directly assigning a mathematical value to a variable. Now this type of data, which is covered between single quotes or double quotes, is called as string. That's your second data type. And if you want to test and know what type of data type it is, you can make use of a function called type. That's another inbuilt function. All it does is basically type function helps you understand the data type of the variable. Okay. And since every function is followed by parentheses, all you can do is pass the variable A, where you have already stored a value. Now, if I just run this, it will show you string. The short form for string in Python is your str. Okay. Okay. Someone says that I'm getting a error loading notebook. Can you refresh? Maybe you can just sign out. Maybe you can refresh the same page of the notebook and then try to log in. I mean, try to open that notebook, and it will take some time, and then you will be good to go. Yeah. In case it doesn't help you out, just sign out and sign in again. Open that, click on that notebook, and you will be able to run that right away. Okay. But meanwhile, you can just understand some concept. So now you have seen in input 17, we had taken some kind of input, and it was 3 that I've given myself. And when we are checking here, although we have entered 3 as an integer, it has saved as string value. Why? And then now what's the importance of this and how it's going to affect your result? Let's check out. Let's see, I'm going to take another variable B. In this also, I'm going to use input command, and then let's make it a little more appealing, where it will ask the user the statement. So to write that statement, I'm going to write in that double quotes, enter a number. I'm going to put some space. If I just run this, just that part will, all it does is just display your part. So whatever you input will be thrown into this B variable. Let's say I add 5 here, and you can see if I run 5, you have 5 as a value. Again, if I want to check the type of this 5 B variable, it will be a string. Now, what's the importance or what's the significance? Let's try to do the previous function that we have applied on integer. So let's apply A plus B. And you expect 5 plus 3 to be 8, but it is not. It will be a 3, 5. This concept of in Python is called as string concatenation, which means let's test this out. Is Python really English language? Let's go on Google and check what's the meaning of concatenation. Although we know what string is, let's check what's the meaning of concatenation. So the concatenate meaning. So you can see link things together in a chain or series, and this is what exactly it is doing. So we can understand, okay, Python is more of English language. So what it does is it takes 3, it takes 5, and it just merges it. But how about if you want to change that and perform that whenever someone gives an input, it should automatically convert that into integer values. Let's do that again, where we will take the input from the user by using input function. We will write here something like enter a number. Now this does the same functionality just like we did last time. All we are going to do is just put something called integer and followed by parentheses. I'm going to explain you what I've done. To explain you, all I'm going to do is first remove this inside part. So now you can see whatever I have written is nothing but another function, which is your integer. This phenomena in Python is called your typecasting. Now typecasting, casting an iron from one shape to another shape, that means casting an input from one form to another form. Now since it's typecasting, that means you have data type being casted to another form. Now since all it does is just take integer, but we want to have input value from the user, I'm going to paste that input command. Now let's run this and see what happens. I'm going to put the value 3 again and send enter. Let's see what's the value in A. It's 3. Let's check again. Is it string or is it integer? Now it says it's an integer. Again, let's just copy this, replace it with B, and I will enter here instead of 3 as 5. You can check B as 5. Now if you perform A plus B, it will be your as desired output 8. Okay, I don't think so it's that difficult. I think this could be done. I think you guys know already this 30 line of code. You might have grabbed that concept very easily, just like a silver plate. So I'm very sure you guys are very familiar with this now. Okay, so I hope, let's move forward, shall we? Okay, so now let's do something like let's try to perform something, let's say if and conditions. Now this is just a walkthrough. Of course, there is like a lot of things that you can perform with if and conditions. This is actually a part, some portions that I'm covering from the whole course. So you have some basic understanding whenever we do some task, whatever we are going to do in the next slides. So if condition is something like, I asked one of you to go to a market and buy an apple. So you're gonna say, Sharik, if I don't get apple, what do you want me to do? So I say, if no apple, something like, if no apple, then bring orange. Now this is like English language that I've written, but this is not exactly how we write it. But in order to make you understand about the if condition, it's how it is. So I've sent you something. You say, Sharik, if this is not available, what you want to do? So this is your command, and this if no apple is your condition. So it's followed by if reserved keyword, which you cannot use as a variable, followed by the condition if this is not happening, followed by colon, and then the statement that you want to perform. Or you can understand in a different way. Let's say if, let's say it's a statement that I'm telling, go to market, if you see apple, bring apple, else if. So that means now it's a condition where I'm telling you that if you see apple, bring apple, else if you bring, instead of that, else if, which is means if you don't get apple, instead of you get orange, you get orange also. So to do that, I'm going to write as if. It is something like else if you get apple, bring apple, else if if you get orange, bring orange. Now you might be noting strange thing about whenever I type enter here, it comes in the next line and with some spaces. This is called your tab space, or it is called your indentation. Now Python is, since we have not seen any kind of braces, curly braces, so you can understand there has to be something that differentiates between one language to another. In Python, we have something called indentation, which means if you want this part of your code to run inside this condition, you have to put that um, into an indentation inside this. So this indentation is nothing but your tab or your 4 uh, space bars. Never combine tab with spacebar. If you're using tab, use tab. If you're using spacebar, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, always use spacebar. Now, you might be thinking, okay, one tab is good enough, but people complain, the coders complain that if you press tab, your tab might differ in what tab indentation or tab spaces that I use in my system. So in a development side, in a higher side, like say 4 or 5 years, so people prefer using space bars also. Some people are there. Now this is how your syntax of if condition looks like. Now let's just do one thing. Instead of this, let's just create an example basically. Now this might be showing an error, but now it won't be. So I'm going to do something, let's say from the start. So let's say if you have a variable a, you say input, did you buy apple? So this is a kind of a question, since it's an input, and your response naturally will be yes or no. So we can understand that we don't need any kind of typecasting. So here it will be like, did you buy an apple? So we're gonna say if a equals, since it's gonna be a
Excuse me, I mean, there is no voice actually.
yeah. Where did I lose my voice? Please, can you help me out?
Yeah, now you're able to hear.
Okay. So what I was about to tell was that if a equals to yes, if you give as input as yes, it will say print good. If you say no, it will print you should have bought oranges. So the first response I'm going to use is yes, and it will give me as expected output as good. Let's say if I want to make the elif condition to be true. Now this statement right here, what it is doing is, if this condition is true, that means if a equals yes, this whole is one condition that we have already seen above. So if this whole condition is true, only then it goes inside this if condition and performs whatever is there in the indentation of this if statement. If this statement is not true, it will go into the another line of code, not inside it, but in this indentation of the if, which is the same line. So elif, there is a condition, a equals no. So if this condition is true, it will print me should have bought oranges. Let's try this. I'm going to put here no, and it will respond me as expected as should have bought oranges. How about if I omit this line of code, what do you think the output will be? Now I'm just trying to cut this, and again I'm going to run this here, and I'm going to write here as no. So what do you expect the output to be? Can I have some responses? Do you expect an output, or if you expect an output, what that output will be? Can I have some response?
There will be no output.
Good. So there won't be any output because I've not written any conditions. So that means it will be like that. So let's keep that same and then move forward. Okay. Now that's not just about if. So you have something called default statements also, which is by else condition, where if you have no condition, let's say if I had asked here something different question, which is enter a number. And then I'm going to say if, so since the number should be an integer, so you remember that we need to put integer followed by parenthesis, and in the end also a parenthesis closing bracket. So now since it's going to be an integer value, so I'm going to compare it with some value. Let's say if a equals 5, then print good. If a is less than 5, which is your operation, less than 5, I'm going to put something like not good. And now the default statement which is left is the value which someone puts is greater than 5. So else, instead of putting else if and defining the statement, all I'm going to use is some default condition, that function which is your else, and then I'm going to print something like bad. Enter a number. Let's try the else condition since we have already tried if and else. Let's see 6 and it says bad. Okay, and since it doesn't give me that, okay, okay, so since we are not comparing here, we need to do something like is greater than 5. So let's try this. Please run. Why is it not? So some kernel error. Let me just use that. So whenever we are going to learn in this course, we will be using a Jupyter notebook, which is installed in our system, so that we don't encounter such things, such outputs. So let's just run, and it says enter a number. I'm gonna say 6. It says me bad. So earlier, it the compiler, the interpreter got stuck. Okay, so that's about your if else condition. Now I'm gonna switch the part of for loop, while loop, and then come quickly to the functions part. That's more important. So you have something called, there are 3 types of functions, and I'm not gonna go inside deep of it. Let's say defining a function, because you have like list of functions that you can perform. But I'm gonna give you a brief overview, and then we will continue to our further sessions. So there are 3 types of functions that you have. One function is that is already built in the Python, that what we have been using. Anything? Any doubts? Okay, so we have 3 types of functions. We have first is inbuilt function that we have been using so far.
Anyone who doesn't have questions have to go on to mute, please.
So any questions so far? Okay, I expect there's no more questions, but we will have a question session. Like you can bombard your questions and we can discuss anything after the course. What will the things, what we will be doing, and I'm going to walk you through about the whole course content that we are going to cover. So please stay patient and we are good to go with now. So we have some inbuilt functions that we have been using so far, which is your if, input, integer, if is your reserved keyword, integer input, and then input command is the two functions that we have used so far. And then we have also used something called type. Okay, so that's your inbuilt function. There are functions that you import, so you can import something like import random. All this library does is, this is your library which you import from Python, and it generates the random numbers. We will be exploring it later on. So you have something that you import and something that you define yourself. This is the user defined function. Now, why do we need that user defined function is, let's say if you want to perform some hectic task of, let's say, forming sum, division, multiplication, mathematics. So let's say, so we can define a separate function of mathematics, take input, and then perform a operation. Let's have some quick look about how to create a function. Let's say whenever we have been using a functions, inbuilt functions, we have named that function first and then try to use it. So let's say I want to use a function called mathematics, or yeah, mathematics. And in this, what I want to perform is I want to take two input, let's say a comma b, and what I want to perform in this is I want to return addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Since I want to return, so it's like whenever you try to return, so you have seen whenever you use input, you have some variable where it is storing the value. Similarly, we're going to have something called result as a variable, and then you have mathematics. Now you can see, you might be thinking, Sharik, you have not defined mathematics function, and this is what the interpreter will give as an input, the error. So it says name mathematics is not defined. Maybe you could have done something like mathematics equals to 0, but that doesn't really make sense. In order to define this function, I'll make the use of a reserved keyword called def. That's your define. Okay, followed by the name of the function that we have used now, which is your mathematics. Okay, now these two variables a and b can be, whenever you define a function, you can have any name to that, you can give any name, but you have to remember that first a will be mapped to the first variable and second variable will be mapped to the second variable. You can understand this is something like, if I have two balls in my hand and one of you is standing a 30 meters ahead, and then what I do is with the two hands I throw two balls. So what you are going to do is, naturally you're going to catch the two balls by two hands, well, since it's been sent altogether, considering that it reaches you at the same time and things like that. So I'm trying to throw two variables, two balls here, which is a and b, and trying to catch two balls by variable c comma d. You can have any hands, it doesn't matter. So you can have any variable, it doesn't matter. But make sure whenever you use this variable in this function definition, you have to use the same function inside this function. Now, if you remember, we have discussed that whenever you want this condition to be true, which is your if, and whenever this condition becomes true, and whatever happens inside this will be given in as indentation. Same thing will happen here when I put colon, and then when I press enter, it will come automatically inside this. So what I want to do is I want to return something. So I'm telling one of you that, okay, I've thrown you two balls, return me both the balls. So you might guess, okay, returning. So there must be a function, there must be a reserved keyword called return, and that is there already. And what I want to return is addition. So C plus D, comma, C minus D, comma, C multiplication D, and followed by C division by D. Okay, I'm going to run this and it will still give me an output saying D is not defined. Why? Because we have not taken any input so far. What I'm going to do is I'm going to define A and B just like I've defined earlier. So now it should be your integer, you know, a equals to integer function, input function. So I'm going to write here to make it different, enter first number. Again, I'm going to copy this, paste it here, change the variable name as b, and I'm going to change some appealing, say enter second number. Now this would run correct now. So it says enter the first number, I'm going to say 3, enter the second number 4. Now you see nothing has happened. Why? Because this function, whatever it has to perform, it performed already and returned these 4 things, which is your plus, minus, multiplication and division into this result. Yeah, so we have anything? I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Can you please write to Krishna, and he will send me on chat, because I'm not really able to hear you. So print result. Yeah. In order to basically print the result, we are going to print it, but I was going to show it here. Now instead of apart from using print, we're going to directly return this result. So you have this 7 minus 1 12 0.75. So you can see that you can create 2-line functions by creating a user-defined function, and then you can return all the values that you want to do. That's the beauty of using functions. Okay. Now I'm going to keep the basics of
I
Python.
have
And
one question. We can perform multiple operation in a single line itself.
yeah, we can perform multiple operations in single line itself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna go inside this Python basic, because first day itself in demonstration will get bored. So Sharik bombarded us with some few concepts. We were not ready. So I'm gonna go back to this presentation and discuss some important things. So I hope you are now capable of knowing, looking at this Python basic program and tell what's basically is going to happen. Let's talk about something different thing, which is your data format and difference between your data format and data structure. Fundamental difference: if you want one software to interact with another software, you use something called data formatting, which means if you can go online. So for example, I'm going to show you a live example. So we have here some Google page, let's say, and one machine is trying to interface with another machine, which is your server, and try to pass information. Now this web browser, how it works is your web client try to pass, which is your PARSE, try to scan every line of code of HTML and then try to convert that into a beautiful web page. So you can see you have this whole HTML content over here. So this web client Chrome, it scans every line of code and then says, okay, so this is your head, this is your metadata, so it should be metadata. So if you have something called, maybe something will be here where it says, let me just go into inspect elements. So you can see that it will pass each line of it. It says, okay, the head part will be the head, the body part will be the body. So it's just parsing every line of code and scanning and bringing you into the beautiful page. Okay. So that's what happens in the data formatting. So this HTML is one of the data format. You have XML, which is an extensible markup language. You have something called JSON, which is your JavaScript object notation. So that's your JavaScript object notation, your language, your formatting between two softwares. But when you talk about data structure, you have something which is like organizing a data into some way where you're trying to access or modify or change, delete, add, multiply, bulk multiplication, and things like that. You can perform that into that data structure. And that's how your data is being stored temporarily in your laptop. So you have some example for data structure, which is your list, tuple, dictionary, set, linked list, and things like that. But then there is something important. Whenever you go for an interview, so this is what happens in our whole course. I'll be walking through you the concept, but I will also going to tell you what interview questions you possibly might be asked. So the most question asked is just like, since JSON looks similar to dictionary, so they will ask you what is the difference between JSON and dictionary since they look alike. So you can say clearly, so JSON is your data formatting, not your data structure, and your dictionary is your data structure, not your data format. So there has to be no difference or similarity between data format and data structure. So the question itself is wrong. So please, next question. So, but JSON can be converted into dictionary. We will talk about that in your classes. And you can also convert dictionary into your JSON format. Enough of talking about data structures. You have Python inbuilt data structure, which is explicitly defined how to initialize that. You have list, tuple, set, and dictionary. You have other data structures that are not explicitly defined, but you can still perform this data structures in Python, which is your linked list, heaps, stacks, and queues. So common application of this data structure is you might be thinking, where do we use that? Maybe storing some ABCD values or 1, 2, 3, 4. But the most common example is whenever you have your list of audio files, you might have seen that when you click next, you have next in line audio file. So the audio which is set as next audio will be played. So you have something called option called shuffle. So there you use something called set, or you have something called different data structures which randomly access elements from your data structures. So if you set it for inline or without shuffle, it will just give you audio which is just aligned to the which is playing currently. Also, you have in your Word, whenever you go into type something in Word, you have Control Z for undo, you have Control Y for redo, you have delete, but you can still undo that. That is only possible with the help of your data structures. Okay. And after a long time, when you just close that window, you cannot really do undo options. That's because it stores permanently into the file structures. Another example is your contacts. You can see one contact is linked to, so one contact will come next, right after the next contact. So that's basically your linked list. That means one list is linked to the another list. And the live example of linked list is when I go to this Google Chrome and try to access this Google, I have this function, this button right here that says click to go back. And when I click, it says new tab. And when I click on forward, it says me google.com. Now this is possible with the help of linked list, which means it is storing the information of the previous element, which what web page was previous, and it is also storing when you go back, it is also storing what is the information of the next element, which is your next node. So you can see that you still have an option with your next. But as soon as you just close this down and again click, you don't have any option called this. Okay. So you can see that when you don't do this, your data structure gets reinitialized and it sets to 0. Again, if you press google.com and then again go back to, from here you go to something like Microsoft, for example, you still have this. So you have three linked list, being you have list which is linked to each other, and when you click back, it will go to one element back. And if you go click next, you can see. So you can see next and next. You have this Microsoft. Okay, so that's your live example of your data structures. Going back to our presentation, so let's talk about enough of data formatting, data structures. And why do I want to talk about how internet works is we have this one demonstration which is like 10 minutes where I'm going to display you how you can fetch the live temperature data with which is being hosted on some website using some inbuilt or some different package called request library. How does your internet works? So your every device, let's say if you are connected with your routers, if you're connected with your hotspot or anything, that hotspot or that router basically assigns a unique IP address to that device, be it your computer, be it your mobile phones or anything. That IP address, so the number of IP address a one router can assign in IPv4 will be your 255. So that's technicality. You don't need to remember that. So every router assigns the device connected to it a unique IP address. This IP address acts like something like your home address, one of your home address. And every IP address has something called port number. Just like you have area code, you have pin code. Let's say if I want to reach to Magister Sign office, so first, or if I want to send a post to Magister Sign, I will need to write the full address and also their area pin code, because the same address can be present in Andhra Pradesh, can be present in Bangalore, can be present in West Bengal or any part of the world. So you need to specifically write the area pin code. So that's how important, and that's how your router basically identify. So when you give one message here, you try to find out, okay, this is the port, so maybe this is present in that particular router, and in that particular router there may be some IP. Okay, so now I found the path. I'm going to deliver those message that initiated from one place and then to the next end. Okay, now you have this fourth option that says every router stores IP address of nearby routers. This router is basically responsible, which sets the IP address to each devices. Now this, since it assigns the device IP address, it also must be having the list of IP address that it stores. Now what happens is, I'm going to use a whiteboard here, and I'm going to explain you something different. So let's say you have one router here, you have another router right here, and then third, and then fourth. You initiated your message here, and you want your message to be delivered to one of your friends here. This is your router, it will assign one IP. This is your router, it will assign one IP. Since it has information about this router, it says whenever you're transmitting the data, it says, hey, you know what? I have this kind of list IP address. It says, does any one of you who is nearby to me has this particular IP address? I am looking for the guy whose address is this, whose port is this. So one of this writer says, hey, you know what? I have this, this is the port. Maybe you can come here and check the list of IP address. So it says, okay, fine. I'm going to go here and check the list of IP address. And if it is there, it will deliver you consistently the full packets. Packets is nothing but your messages. Okay, that's how topology works. Going back, since IP address is hectic, you have something called URL, Universal Resource Locator, which is your google.com, facebook.com, and things. Beside that, you have nothing but your IP address. That's enough about how your internet works. Now, whenever you try to access the data, let's say you go to Facebook, or let's say you go into Google. Let's take this example of google.com. I'm going to write here Google and press enter. Now you can see that it took one turn left. That means it was trying to load. What it did is, it went whenever, as soon as I typed something called google.com, so it went to the server and said, hey, you know what, this guy from Vaishali or some Delhi place is trying to access something called google.com. Can you check if this guy is sane or insane? Maybe, I don't think so. It's is it something like google.com ever existed? So this server says, you know what, this guy is sane. There is a web page called google.com. So he says, okay, fine, retrieve him back. Okay, so this is you're trying to request a web page from the server, and it will return you a web page which is assigned to google.com. This type of request that you have done to the server is called your get request, that I'll show you in the presentation. But if you have something called your Gmail account and you're the first timer which is trying to set up an ID, okay, so you're trying to sign up. So you say, okay, Google, this is my username that I want to keep. I'm above 20 and I have this email address. Please create my Gmail account. So this guy says, okay, fine. This guy wants to sign up. So his go-to server says, you know what, this guy from this IP address wants to sign up with this email address. please sign up. So it says, okay, it's done. So it stores into the database. Now, this is the one direction flow. So it says this is kind of a post request. That means you want to just post something there. And this is the two main concept in HTTP, which is your hypertext transfer protocol. Now, if I show you this Google, you can definitely see what I'm talking about. You can see you have HTTP based protocol. There are different protocols. You have MQTT, you have WebSockets, you have CoAP, you have like WebRTC and many SMTP, SNMP, FTP, and a lot many. So one of the protocol that web pages use is HTTP, but you can see you have something called S. This is nothing but your secure. That means your connection from your server is secure. Nobody can hack it. Okay. Now let's perform this hands-on operation. Now you know what is the meaning of get post. These are the most common operation that is being used by web pages. You have put, you have delete. That's not very useful. And we are going to use get request from a website and try to get the weather data. Now, to make this hands-on useful, we are going to use request library and we will perform get or post request to request from a specific URL, and we are going to visit this website called. So I want you guys to go to this website called https www.weatherapi.com. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to this google.com and weather API. I already have opened this for you guys, so I don't have to put time in that. Okay, so I want you guys to go to this weather API and then sign up and create an account. You can create it very easily. You have this sign out. I'm gonna do that. So you have refresh. So you can create sign up. So you can see JSON type of data that is being sent from this website. Login, since if you have signed up already. So I'm gonna log in and then since I've already created my address, so I'm gonna use yeah, that's done. So I want you guys to go to this weatherapi.com and sign up here. Once done, please let me know with a yes, and so that we can perform our task. Let me know once you're done with the sign up.
Your audio has not been. Its audio is gone. We are unable to hear you.
So my voice is not clear, but when I
Yeah,
test
you are not.
okay, but when I'm testing my microphone here, it says my audio is working perfectly fine. So what
No,
part of
I am getting you.
okay. So
Yeah.
please try to sign up on this weather API and create your account, please, so that we can code. Once you're done sign up part, please let me know. And you might not be able to understand every bit of that library that we are going to use, but if you just keep it general and look at it as an eagle eye view and try to implement more into implementation rather than going to specifics for today, so you'll be able to gather more things, because you have like deep things inside this request library, but we are going to only focus about the things that we are really interested in. So let me know. I'm waiting for you guys for 1 or 2 yes. So I'm just gonna get and then go back and implement that.
Yeah, done with sign up.
Okay. Now I'm gonna give you a URL. You can just have some whenever I was just clicking few buttons here. So it took me to a examples that says in order to get the current weather for London and in the data format which is your JSON, you need to use this kind of URL. So please copy this. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this and also send you in the chat. I'm gonna send to the Krishna and he will send you in the chat windows. So now it says you can have that look in your chat window. This whole is basically one link. So it says this is the link where you will get the JSON data of current time, that's current weather. The key will be very unique. That will be your API key. So that means in order to make every request to the web page unique, they generate something called application programming interface key. That means everyone who is going to interact or sign up will be authorized, will be given a unique key so that the connections can be unique. And then you have and Q, which is your query equals to your London. So we are going to get the data of the weather of London. Okay. Now, when you have this, I want you guys to go back to your base, this, and click on weather API and my account. So you might be seeing a option called dashboard. So there you have something called a API key. So this API key makes my connection unique from other API key or from other account. I'm going to copy this. I have already copied, but I'm still going to copy that and go back to my Azure and paste it here. Okay. Now let it be for now. We don't need to do anything for now. Just run this, even if it shows some kind of error, let it be, but it's saved already. Okay. Now we have already a URL. All I'm going to do is just copy this whole URL that you already have it. Again, go back and paste it here. Now, instead of just, since it has to be a string, so I need to put that into double quotes and assign it to a variable called URL. Okay. Now you can see there is something called your API key, which is written in your tags. Whenever you notice something, okay. Yeah. So can you please give this yeah, okay. So whenever you have this something written in code between the tags, understand that this has to be replaced with something that is being asked. So this your API key, and we have already copied our API key, which is this. It will be unique for you in your account. Go to that dashboard and it will show you your API key. I'm going to copy that and replace this whole API key with the tags and paste it here. Okay. I'm going to run this as shift enter. Now this is your base URL from which you are going to request and you will get the data for London. And we will see how we can get the data for Delhi. We can see the data for Noida, any other place. Okay. Now, the library that we are going to use, I hope you guys have done this. So the library that I'm going to use is your request. Okay, it's S. It might take some time for you to load, but you start. So this is those packages that you import from some of the, let's say, inbuilt package, but you need to import in order to use that. So you will use import requests. After doing that, since we need to get some data, so the type of request that we are going to do is your get request. Okay, and how do we do that is your requests dot get, and since it's a function, I'm going to put parentheses. Now what you need to get is from this URL, which is with your unique ID, and you want to get the current data, weather data for London. So this I have already saved into a URL variable. I'm going to pass here as a URL. Okay, and since it's going to give some response, so instead of just directly printing it, let's just try to save that into some variable called weather and equals. When you run this, it runs, but it doesn't show you. It will show you only when you just write it here, weather. And you can see it's a response 200, which means that whatever you were trying to respond has already been updated. So they're like different response code that you get from website. You might have seen something called 4 not found, where 4 not 4 web page not found. That's something when you don't have any web page that you're trying to request. So in order to get the content of this, whatever we have returned, since it returns with a list of things, one of that is your response code. So I'm going to write weather dot content. If I return that, you can see you have byte format, location. In that location, you have name London, region city of London, Greater London, country United Kingdom, latitude, longitude, position, and Europe and all the time zones. Now you have this temperature in Celsius as 10 degrees Celsius. So the live temperature, your 16.5, let's just go online and check if it is true or not. So London temperature. So it says it's 9 degrees Celsius. And what temperature did we get is 10 degrees Celsius. So 1 degree is okay. Basically, it might be like which specific area this sensor is being deployed and things like that. So that's okay to have 1 degree up and down. So you have temperature in Fahrenheit and things like that. Now, what we need to do is we need to extract, and since this is your JSON format, and if you remember, I told you that we can convert JSON into dictionary. A quick insight about dictionary, you know that it's a inbuilt data structures. How this works is you have a key and followed by every key has a value assigned to it. What it means is, let's say if you have a dictionary of English dictionary, you have a key to find out the meaning of flossinocili hilipilification. You have this word. So this word itself is your key. And the meaning of this word will be your value. So that's how the dictionary works. You have a key. In here, you have key as location. In that, you have value as this whole. Similarly, you have your key here. You have value. Since this is a type of a JSON string, so we need to convert that into dictionary. How do we do that is, you need to start importing JSON that scans this line of code and converts that into dictionary. How do we do that? We do that by importing a module called JSON, the same module which the standard file is in. When you run that, it shows that the module has loaded. If there was some other module that you were trying to write, it will show you some kind of error that says no module name called JSON. Again, JSON and then run. Now, in order to convert JSON into your dictionary, you have something called loads. So to do that, we have let's do something like JSON dot loads, and what you need to do load is weather dot content. Okay, since it returns the dictionary, let's save that into weather data. Now you might be confused, you might be questioning that why do I use underscore. If I had used something called space, so it will give me an error, because in Python you cannot have a name which has space in it. So either you can have no space, or since if you want to separate, you can do something like underscores. Now if you just run this shell, you have everything inside this data. Okay, this looks more cleaner than this. Yeah, I hope so. Now you can do it till here, and I'm gonna wait for 10 seconds, and the next part is way simple.
Sharik, one question here.
Yeah.
See, this we have extracted the data in JSON format, and then again you have converted into a dictionary, which is displaying in a meaningful format. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, I'm not sure because I'm new to Python. So do we have, or does Python have any inbuilt functions with which we can extract the data from here into a table format or something like that?
Since so what do I mean? So table format, basically it will be your database. So yes, we have in Python,
Not
but
the
since
data,
that,
but on
yeah,
the screen, I want to display it in rows and columns, like uh, in a neat format. So, I mean, are there any inbuilt functions that can be used, or do I have to write the or program it myself?
yeah, you need to, there are no one function and then it converts, because you can see for one key you have a set of values, and then inside that you have key,
Like
and
I
then
wanted to have a column called location, another column called name, and then region, and below that display the data like that.
yeah. So if you design that into rows and columns, it will be quite difficult, because so if you have a column called location, in it says that you have another column called name. So
Okay.
so what we do, we use in data science, what we do, we try to convert this by using some different libraries.
Okay.
We format into tables and columns, and we can do that for sure. But there's no as far as my knowledge, there is no one function that converts automatically
Oh,
into the separate things. So we
oh,
need to use some data science library
oh,
uh, to convert that into rows and columns.
got it. Thank you.
And the session will be like more like 15 minutes more. So just we are almost finishing up. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, in order to in dictionary, whenever you try to find out the value, you are followed by a square bracket, and then you need to put the key inside it. So the key that I want to find out is temperature in Celsius, which is TMP underscore C. All I'm going to do is TMP underscore C, and it will show me the value, which is your temp. It says no. So why is it showing no is that's the reason why it cannot be done in directly into the rows and columns. So first we need to go into this location, and in this location we need to go inside this temp C. So to do that, what we do is first use the key, which is your location, then it will show me everything inside this location, which is your name, region, country, latitude, and this. Okay, so you can see that in this you don't have something called temperature. Let's go back again and check in what column it is. You have current. Okay, in current you have temperature C. So I'm going to do is current, and you have everything inside as temperature C, temperature. Now you can either you can just save it into, let's say, weather data, data pre-final, some variable name. Okay, again you can see in this weather data. Usually we don't use such a big name, so but for this purpose we are using. And this I need to know the value of temperature C. Again, square bracket temperature underscore C. Now you can get this data for 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, And then you can always perform some you will see in the class that I will give this as a task by explaining you more details of this. You will be able to use existing data structures and try to perform, let's say, this functionality over this. Automatically, you will be fetching the data every 10 seconds, and you can store that into database, online database, SQL database, MongoDB, and things like that. For MongoDB, you don't need to convert into SQL database. Okay. So this is it about getting the temperature data from online. And let's go back to our presentation that we left lastly. So we have seen so far a lot of things. We have seen basics of Python. And I wanted to talk to you about what the course learning outcomes will be. Although you might have received the PDF version of this course content, but I still want to say that whenever you take up this course, you will be guaranteed well versed with the Python syntax to the level that in the mid of classes itself, all I'm going to do is just tell you that please do this steps, next is this step, and third is this step. You will be able to write the code all by yourself. That is possible because we will try to have as many number of problems, as many different case scenarios as possible, so that it helps you think over and ponder over the existing syntaxes and try to explore more. Also, you'll have a mentoring throughout this learning. That means even if you are done with this course, I'll help you out in order to how to make this learning with the certificate more beneficial and more credible, and go to different platforms and try to depict that, you know what, I have learned this Python and I know Python very well. So it's like you cleared 10th, you cleared 12th, and then you cleared entrance exam, and then in IIT also you have some good scores. So this track records show the companies that, you know, this guy is really good. So this is how I'm going to go, that you're going to learn with me. You're going to have more projects. You're going to have, let's say, LinkedIn things like I'm going to guide you how you can present this whenever you have learned. And this is it. These pictures as a sideways, I've clicked as my hobby. And success stories, I've already taught people who had literally no computer background ever in their life. Let's say they have studied from Hindi medium, not very well, but they were able to write code all by themselves. So don't worry if you're not able to learn or not able to uh, learn things. So leave it on that. It's my job. It's my thing. I'll be making you independent problem solver. So with Python, it's guaranteed with me. And if you have got any doubts, you're free to throw that on me, and I'm here to respond to that doubts regarding the course content. If you want to know the course content, I can just give you that. I can just show you in this slides, maybe. So if you have any questions, you can just let me know. We are here. So with this, we are almost completing our demo, and you can just let me know what your questions or query is.
What is the duration of the course?
It will be minimum 45 hours.
Okay. I mean, when is it starting?
And yeah, it will be starting towards end of May.
Okay.
Or somewhere like 25th, because we have some things going on right now. So around,
Is this a weekend batch or a weekday batch? That's
so it
starting from
depends
the end of
totally
this month.
upon, the students. If you're working professionals, if you don't really get time in your weekdays, we can keep that into weekends, 2 to 2.5 in weekends. But if you get enough time in weekdays, I'm gonna not gonna push you with 2-3 hours every day, but I'm gonna keep 1 to 1.5 hours or 1 hour 15 minutes every day. So you practice things every day, and then you get the Saturday Sunday time to reflect upon that. So it's completely depend upon. We will run a Google form, so you can choose which timing suit for you. So we are flexible about that, but we need to stick to one timing, either weekend or weekdays.
It's a certified course, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Anything that you want to ask about the course?
No, that's
I
it.
hope you. Yeah. I think you guys might have the course content.
Yes.
Yeah. So I assume yeah, there are no doubts. So if you feel anything after going back home, if you feel like you didn't understand that concept, or maybe you wanted to have query that is related to me, you can always email to Anusha or someone contact person in your magister sign, and they can, if it is the doubt is related to a technical thing, they can reflect to me. If it is a managerial thing, they can respond to you accordingly. So with this, I will basically end this tutorial demo session, and I wish to see you all in this tutorial, this programming lessons, and I'll guarantee you that it will be very interesting. There'll be competitions with among yourself, so you'll have that kind of intentions of trying to solve the problem every day and then. So I wish you guys good luck. I wish you guys join the class, and let's get started. And thank you for attending this class.
Thank you.